All right, this is the Coast to Coast Combat Hour, Friday night, September 10th. BKFC is just getting going, so forgive Matt if he seems distracted. You know he gets all excited about bare knuckle, but he deserves a little distracted. And reason we're recording late this week, both of our schedules got messed up. With me going back to changing my schedule and the flooding and stuff, and then Matt had the rug pulled out from under him. He was supposed to be at tomorrow night's Triller event that was on his coast, and now it's on my coast in Florida, the new fight capital of the world, apparently.
Yeah,
So
free lands.
yeah. So I mean, just real quick, again, I know we were off for a week, but we are still brought to you by allaccessmma.com. Check out all your current news and events over at allaccessmma.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification for this YouTube channel, and thank you. We picked up 5 subscribers this month, so thank you all for joining us. Sorry for being so late with the content.
Yeah, no, it's been a little bit of a wild week. Some other stuff going on too that threw the schedule off a bit, but yeah, no, it's nice to be back. It's Friday night. I believe you got a beer over on your side. I got a cocktail over here.
Yeah, we both deserve it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Me was swimming in New Jersey, and you having some place to go and then not.
Yeah, and some other stuff that we'll talk about maybe off the air sometime. But that's with that said, so the rug got pulled out. No Triller, LA tomorrow. No Oscar De La Hoya. We're now with Vitor Belfort versus Evander Holyfield in Florida.
Yeah.
So that throws it off. I wanted to come on here and go crazy rant about not getting a refund. I checked right before the show, and now the event says canceled as opposed to postponed. Earlier in the week, I got an email telling me the event was postponed to hold on to my tickets, and they'll be happy to let me know when they were good, which just means that they're going to sit on the money.
So some interest. Yeah.
Yeah. So it says cancel now, so I'm hopefully by the first couple days of next week, I see that money back into my account.
Yeah, no, they did that to a few people. That's just an old game that these venues play. They did that to the hundreds. It wasn't a lot, but I got to go back to my coast. What was it, 229?
Yep.
UFC 229 with the whole bus incident and the main event changes up until the Friday before. Anyone that wanted refunds, they were told no, they weren't going to get them, because the main event changed so many times, and then that following week later, everybody got their money back. So they it's just a game that they play. But interesting that they relocate a whole event just because California wouldn't license Evander Holyfield. You would think that, I mean, as you're watching BKFC, and we're gonna probably talk about brain health, you would think that they would listen to an athletic commission, but Florida apparently is not like other places.
Keeping in mind, though, that California also accepted a steroided John Jones from Nevada. So there's a hypocritical level across all boards of all these athletic commissions.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them not licensing a 58-year-old man to box, but let's also not pretend that a 54-year-old Mike Tyson hasn't been getting praised like crazy after his last performance. So he was 54. Now it was an exhibition. He wasn't fighting a guy. I mean, I know it's Roy Jones. Maybe there's a little bit more of a danger in fighting a probably roided out Vitor Belfort. But that's I don't know. I would have been nice to have the backup plan already in the cards prior to it getting to this point. Ticket sales were not great. Ticket prices were dropping. I was actually that morning that it got changed. I was actually about to call the arena and see if they would upgrade my seats because prices had started dropping down the board. So I was interested in looking into that to get closer to ringside. I was never really interested in De La Hoya Vitor Belfort. My whole thing was always just a chance to see Anderson Silva. And I know he's not a huge fan favorite these days, but Tito Ortiz step into the ring one more time, even if it's not what we were accustomed to. I appreciate, and the same goes for Vitor Belfort. I appreciate everything they've done for the fight world over the last 20 plus years in some of their cases. And Well, in all three of their cases actually now, and I just think that for me it's fun to go see. I don't expect to see the greatest boxing match of all time. Same thing when I go to watch a Fedor fight or I go watch
Yeah,
any of these guys. But
these odds are crazy.
Belfour's a favorite, right? -2, 300.
Well, no,
Like
yeah, I would imagine he's the favorite. I'm actually looking at Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz, since the only thing that happened to that is Tito Ortiz didn't make weight. He's 5 pounds over, and he's got to pay 20% to Anderson Silva, so they're still moving forward. But I'm checking out. Let me bring him up on the screen here, since because that's why you were gonna go, right?
And I'm
Like
not
that
the
was
least bit surprised that Tito Ortiz didn't make weight. I posted that earlier this week on a forum that you throw in the now trap. I mean, he was cutting weight from his own bed. And then all of a sudden, the week of the fight, he has to get on a plane, fly to a hotel across country.
so.
I have no doubt that's why he missed weight. But
So they have. He looks like he's plus 550 across the board, no matter where you're betting. This is oddschecker.com. It's a website that I've been using to check odds since they do multiple platforms for all the sports books that are out there. And did a job interview with them too, so they kind of wrote me in that way. But
well, how do you see it going? Let's talk about this fight a little bit. I mean, I know that the odds want to tell a certain story, but I mean, right off the bat, do you think there's any chance that Anderson Silva really knocks out Tito Ortiz?
no.
Okay, yeah, I don't think so either. So we're looking at a decision.
Look at his head.
I mean, Anderson Silva finished some people, but his hands weren't really what, like he never had that one punch knockout. Now we put boxing gloves on him, barring a gassed out Tito Ortiz, maybe from a bad weight cut. But I don't think a knockout. I think, and maybe this is crazy, but I think if one guy's going to knock out the other, I think Tito Ortiz could potentially knock out Anderson Silva. We've seen Silva get knocked out.
Yeah, he's got the power. And Silva's taking a lot of damage that he's probably not ready to take anymore. I hear you. I hear where you're coming from, but I think he's got the same puncher's chance. I mean, if anything, Evander Holyfield has more of a puncher chance because of his experience boxing
and size. He's huge compared to Belfort, which I expected to see a bigger Belfort. He, obviously he was training for a much smaller opponent. So I wonder if had his, I don't think we would have seen 206-pound Belfort if he knew he was going to fight a 260-pound man. Isn't that didn't Holyfield weigh in around 260 or something like that? I'm pretty sure he was pretty big dude. So I'm curious to see how that unfolds. I think Anderson Silva likely picks up a decision win. I wonder how it goes. I mean, a lot of people don't like to give Tito any kind of credit, but he did drop Ryan Bader. He I know the last Chuck fight was irrelevant, and that was really his only stand-up knockout win. But he's a big guy. He's going to likely show up tomorrow at 230 pounds. Silva will be his 200 or 100 and what's Silva going to be 195? I mean, he's going to put.
Well, he came in like 3 pounds under, so
he's basically his weight. He might have a nice dinner tonight and put and put on a little bit of
and here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if you saw when the Paul Woodley thing happened. James Lynch and I did like a live thing on his YouTube channel. We did like a watch along or whatever you call it. I forget what he calls it. But he said that or I brought up the thing with these Triller events. Ring size matters for the type of fighter. I mean, both these guys are MMA fighters, so they're both going to have wide stances. But if I were to say somebody had an advantage, it's maybe Silva's got a reach advantage over Ortiz, and I could see him outpointing if he's got the footwork to work his magic. And I apologize for my gas, but we don't normally drink during these things.
No, I mean I agree with you there. I think Silva will likely pick up a decision win. I don't think Tito Ortiz will be fast enough to catch an alert Silva who's not worried about a takedown. And I think that we'll probably see a lot of jabs, and such from Silva landing on Tito's bigger head.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a lot closer. The -500 or the +500 for Tito is something that's slightly tempting for me. Just along the lines of never knowing.
+550, yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. You're a pulled hamstring away from taking 5.5 to 1. I mean, anything can happen.
A draw is +2,000. I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not a terrible bet though either. With these judges, we don't know what the judges are, right? Because the last judges we were told how the Woodley Paul judges we were told they were bunch of basic clowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it's a real boxing match, I imagine we're gonna have, maybe some real California judges, especially if they're, it's not the Cleveland Athletic Commission or the Ohio Athletic Commission.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be different, but yeah, I'm just kind of bummed. With I'm lucky enough to get out to a bunch of stuff where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people aren't, but I still get excited. And I mean, I was looking forward to this, and I started telling people earlier in the week, talking to some of my Mexican friends about, everybody was a De La Hoya fan. Southern California, you were a De La Hoya fan. I mean,
Yeah.
you were either a Chavez or a De La Hoya fan, and most of the Mexican Americans were De La Hoya fans.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just how it was, at least in Southern California, keeping in mind that De La Hoya was from here. This was his, where he came up, and this is his world. So it was, I just sucked to be telling people about chance to see De La Hoya. And then within minutes of me talking about it come Monday, Tuesday, all of a sudden it's changed. So
that's the MMA Hawk. I mean, we thought it was gone, but every
no,
what
it's
is it?
definitely
Every
not.
after every leap year.
No, it's definitely not gone. BKFC's already changed their. I'm booked for Arizona, Chandler, Arizona. They've only been advertising it for like the last 4 months, and now it looks like that event's no longer even in Arizona. It's in
Wow.
November in Miami. So, yeah,
Wow.
and I already got plans the week. So no Bellator the weekend before in Phoenix because I already made some other plans, thinking I was going out for the bare knuckle the following week. So, yeah, I mean, cry me a river, right? But but I'm just being honest. I look forward to these things, and
People are gonna start asking if you have tickets. You're gonna be like the Mush from Bronx Tale.
Oh, I got asked earlier today, actually, if I had deal for UFC tickets in a couple of weeks. But
But you're
yeah,
gonna be
no.
like the Mush from Bronx Tale. If people are gonna see you're going, they're gonna start being, "Oh, forget it, I'm
Oh
not
no,
buying
I
tickets."
know. Well, yeah, that's
It's like, get him in the
yeah.
bathroom, Matt. Go stand in the bathroom. I don't want to see Matt.
He mushed it. He mushed it. Yeah, no,
So,
I that's the joke a lot. I'll post the gif of they're at the races and Mush
yeah.
cheering for the horse that goes from first to last in about a matter of
But
seconds.
I mean, but still, at least you're home. I mean, I know the bare knuckles start now. You'll be able to get to that in a few minutes. I see there's a guy named Snake fighting now or next, but
Yeah, no, I like the action. I can't defend everything that they do, but
where is this? Is this also in Florida too?
no, this is in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
yeah, no, I mean, I like the card, top to bottom. Dakota Cochran.
this is the yeah. Go ahead. I was just about to
Yeah,
ask who it was.
Dakota Cochran versus Mike Richmond. Mike Richmond knocked out Marcel Stamps at BKFC 17 when I was there in Alabama. Got a chance to meet him before the event. Friendly dude, didn't have a long conversation, but wished him the best of luck, and got to watch him fight in Bellator. Anybody who watched the earlier days of Bellator certainly is no stranger to Mike the Marine Richmond. Dakota Cochran, if you followed MMA, you know him. There's other reasons you might know him from the news, but and not criminal stuff, but other things. But he has been a successful mixed martial artist, and he's been successful in BKFC or bare knuckle fighting for that matter. So both guys carry a big punch. Richmond's got a little bit of size on him. And I mean, I root for Mike Richmond. I root for him in Bellator. I'll root for him to continue his success in BKFC. That's the main event. No title on the line. However, every fight you win in BKFC with the amount of people they have on their roster really moves you up the rankings pretty quick and can line you up, especially if you have, if you're a former Marine and you've got the Bellator history, you're not far away from that. The co-main event's obviously exciting. Banger between two of the bigger dudes in BKFC. Sam Shoemaker returns following his loss to Joey Beltran. And he returns to fight Josh Burns, who's also coming a loss to Tate at BKFC, the main event of BKFC 17. So, a couple guys who are looking to rebound. The winner of that fight moves along. I imagine the loser, especially if Burns, probably drops pretty far down the rankings. Sam Shoemaker's a fan favorite he had the one punch knockout in BKFC 1 over Eric Prindle, and that pretty much kind of locked him in as a legend almost of bare knuckle fighting, along with the red, white, and blue shorts and the big beard. So that's it. You got another fight, Houston Alexander. You MMA fan? I know we're talking about some aging fighters, but you got Houston.
Oh yeah, Alexander. Is he tonight?
Yep, Houston
Oh
Alexander
wow.
in his home state. I don't know if he's actually from Omaha, but he is a Nebraska guy. So he's fighting. He fights Wes Combs, another old MMA fighter. Many fans might remember him, maybe even from just a GIF of when he fought Marilla Ninja Hua in Pride, and they had a crazy face-off where Wes Combs basically looked like he was out of control, got in the face of Ninja Hua, and then Murillo you know did what the Hua brothers do and absolutely
Back then, yeah,
dismantled
especially.
him back then. And
Yeah.
Ninja was a killer. So that fight's on the card. Jason High, the Kansas City Bandit MMA fighter from HD Net fights to Bellator to UFC. He's on the card also. Um, so it's interesting, it looks to me like they're bouncing around getting legalized in states and then finding some names to use in those locations. We had heard Chad Mendez was rumored for Arizona next week. I think that's changing. Now we're hearing Diego Sanchez for their New Mexico event. So it's and they've done that
Yeah.
a couple times in the past with the DJ who fought uh,
Our
Teague,
boy.
our boy
Yeah.
Teague.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's apparently he's bet the DJ guy's got a legitimate skills. I mean, we saw it in that fight, but he's from the Miami area, so they're using some guys who have some clout in their neighborhoods
Sell
uh,
tickets. Yeah, it
to
makes
sell
sense.
tickets and just help promote the event. I mean, if I've never been to New Mexico, but I imagine if Diego Sanchez shows up in Albuquerque promoting bare knuckle fighting coming, and I'm in one of the top fights on the card, I imagine it's good for publicity and
Yeah.
like you said, the bottom line of money. So,
Well,
um,
speaking of, I mean, just because we missed a lot of news with the week that we had off last week before Labor Day, but I mean, news that broke literally like last night. I want to say late afternoon, early evening, my time last night. Kyoji Horiguchi,
that's right.
within a matter of hours, goes from free agent to signed with Bellator bantamweight, and apparently he's still able to fight at Ryzen once a year too. So I'm thinking that they're just laying the seeds for that bantamweight tournament that Rafael Stotts was calling for, and Jornel Lugo and all these other 135ers, just to put the stamp on my love letter to the to the Bellator 135ers. I mean that is quickly becoming the murderer's row at 135, especially if you're throwing Horiguchi in that mix.
I mean, Horiguchi is still the champ, really. I mean, all
Yeah.
props to Sergio Pettis and Archuleta and stuff for what they did, but the
Oh
reality
yeah.
is
That's yeah.
that that Horiguchi never lost the belt. He gave it up, and then those guys fought for it. So, I mean, he certainly. I don't think he has to earn his way to a title shot. If anything, if there is a tournament, I imagine it's him and Pettis in the first round of the tournament, much like we saw with
Mm.
Archuleta and
Oh
Pitbull.
yeah, where it's always on the line. Yeah.
If it's always on the line, give the dude that deserves it most the first shot at it. Don't let him fight a contender and slip up or bust a knee or you know
Yeah.
give him that shot that he deserves. So I love it, man. I mean, we've talked about Horiguchi on this show. I explained earlier how I wasn't a big fan of the early or the smaller dudes until honestly this dude kind of showed up, and he had been around a little bit in the UFC kind of toiling with their division when Mighty Mouse was doing his thing, but once he kind of broke out of the UFC and got a chance to really just eh, you know thrive in front of his countrymen out there in Japan, and with all that showcase, and it's the hype that it brings. I
Yeah.
like the spectacle. And the spectacle brings me in and makes me a fan of fighters, and whether it's Yuri now as a light heavyweight in the UFC or Horiguchi. I mean, you got guys who just came up through the fireworks and the explosions of the rising ramp to that's what makes the name for themselves. So I love it, and I'm not going to this next Bellator, but goddamn, Horiguchi ends up on a card. I'm there. I won't. He's must see TV to me. He's must
Yeah.
see anytime I can get a chance
I
to go
think I
see him.
think if you can't call yourself, I mean, you really shouldn't call yourself a fight fan if all you watch is UFC. And you got to watch, especially these guys, if guys like that we just mentioned from the 135ers over at Bellator, which I feel like that's the division that's always made me that kind of drew me in to that promotion since the days of Joe Warren and uh, it's just before pre Coker, Bjorn Rebney days. Like I just always thought they
Alec was Alexa Villa and
yeah.
yeah, I mean all those well, Makovsky he moved up a little bit, but yeah, no, all those guys. Uh, that was the early division. They didn't have the bigger names. You had Ben Askren, but he was about as big as you got. There was,
Yeah.
it was the Mpumbas and stuff, like guys who just didn't really
Yeah.
translate. Nobody really believed that some of those guys were the top in the world. But you could argue that Joe Warren, at that time especially, could have
Yeah.
done some damage.
Yeah, especially he was the
against
older
anybody.
guy. He was the older guy kicking ass still back then. So that I was really a big fan of Joe Warren. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely. I mean, Bellator kind of already has the rest of their year planned out between Dublin and the UK. Their Euro series. I forget the numbers of the cards and who's on them, but I know like Patrick Mix and James Gallagher's on the 270 card, and we got the other cards that are lined up before they come back around this way. So and then the one the light heavyweight Grand Prix with Bader and I just saw it.
Corey Anderson,
Yeah,
Bader,
yeah,
Nemkov, Rumble.
exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be a good time. I mean, I know we got this little dry spell. It's September 11th, so they're it's a somber time in the tomorrow for this country. It's odd that anything is going on, but I think that's probably why we're probably taking a little break from most things. But we also could use the escape too, especially after the weeks you and I have had. We could definitely use a little distraction.
Yeah, no, the whole world's been crazy the last few weeks.
I don't know if you can tell by I got the lights hiding it, but in regular light, if you were standing in front of me, you'd see bags under my eyes. Just because of between, like I said, the flooding we had here in Jersey, and then it's funny how you messaged me about, postponing this week's episode. We were supposed to come back Tuesday, and then the news with De La Hoya and everything. And when you sent me that message, I was just like, yeah, I get it, dude. I was like, could be, because I mean, this is not sad to say, this is not uncommon for you. But
no,
you said that you were going to read that thing, but then you said they finally canceled.
Yeah, it looks like I'm getting my money back. So we'll find next week. If I don't see cash in my bank by Tuesday, then I'll save the little hawk rant for that run. But yeah, I mean, everything's crazy right now. It's
this would have been your first like Triller event, because I don't even know.
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, are they having rappers and stuff? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh man, they might be Too Short and all the dudes.
I feel like if they were going to do that, I don't know if they are now, with having to relocate the whole thing from one coast to another. Like, I mean,
I'm not interested in all that Pitbull and all that.
But I'm saying like
bullshit.
This can't be really, like, I don't see how financially they're gonna save this. You know what I mean? If anything, now they're just trying to save the brand name and maybe protect their investment from future investors and stuff like that. But I
think, yeah, no, I hear you, and I think we're in a world now where we just can't even question how these companies have money. We've asked how BKFC manages to get through. We've PFL. Like, I mean, there's a lot of questions to be asked.
PFL does funding rounds. Like they're pretty public about. I mean, Global Newswire puts up enough of that, like how they get another round of investments. So I know a lot of their money comes from what do they call them? Angel investors or dark investors.
But those investors got to be getting something for their money. And like, I mean, if we're being honest, 170,000 people watching on ESPN2, generally doesn't call for a $6 million pay fight card. So who knows? But I don't know either. I don't know where Triller gets their money. I mean, they're bringing in Donald Trump to do play-by-play, and they're talking about bringing in Barack Obama to do play-by-play for the Teofimo Lopez fight.
Yeah. But that's another one that was supposed to have happened in June and got pushed back because I mean, I know COVID fucks up a lot of things, so they fucked up that and fucked up this. I mean, I'm cursing because this is our podcast, and I already.
It's Friday.
It's Friday, so we're allowed to curse on Friday. But it's just one of those things that like I think this whole movement is just them. It would have been 2 events in a row that they had to push far away, and I think that this was more of just a move on their part where they just kind of said, "We got to do this, or we're fucked."
Well, I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I was kind of surprised that they moved the fight. I thought that they might just go forward with just Tito Ortiz and Anderson Silva, considering the fight was in Southern California. Tito Ortiz probably sold a bigger chunk of the seats than, I mean, De La Hoya had his run, but it had to have been Tito probably selling a nice little chunk. I'm surprised they just didn't keep that. But I mean, we talk about like them moving events from out of like Madison Square Garden. It can't
Yeah.
be cheap just to cancel on Staples Center on a week's notice. So
Yeah.
like, you wonder where these monies come from. Like we just said, they got Trump coming in to do some kind of, Snoop Cast style pay-per-view or play-by-play for this. We're
That's
hearing
got to
Barack
be
Obama,
horrible.
like, I mean, that's not cheap, right? Like, we can't get Donald Trump to do play-by-play on our podcast. This has got
Yeah.
to be costing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, to have him just come. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, Trump don't come cheap. We know he's
I mean, or
yeah.
Obama.
Oh
We've
yeah,
seen the
yeah.
speaking fees, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. So it's a weird transition. I can't imagine they sold a lot of tickets in Florida on a week's
And I
notice.
know when the Teofimo Cambosis, or I'm sorry if I'm saying, I forget his name, how to say his name, his opponent's name, but I know when the bidding wars for that happened and Triller came out as the ones that secured it, people were already like, where are they getting this money from? Because up until a couple of well, up until a couple of like months ago or whatever it was, until what was it, Askren Paul, we didn't really know about Triller, or no, Triller was Mike Tyson and Roy
Triller
Jones
was
Jr.
Tyson and Roy
Yeah,
Jones, and Triller was always just the Jake Paul.
yeah.
It was Jake. I think it was the first one. I was Jake Paul and Askren, maybe, right? I don't know if the other ones were.
I don't know if that's because of the Trump stuff, but Lagorna asks on
Who will be
from
champion of the
Twitch.
Liberators?
Yeah. No idea. Maybe that's a Twitch question, so maybe it's a video game question.
But yeah, no, I mean, I it's like I said, we mentioned earlier, there's a lot going on in the fight world right now, and you said, you shouldn't really consider yourself a fight fan if you just watch the UFC. We don't really bring pro wrestling into this, but right now in the pro wrestling world, you see how exciting it is when there's a competition that is bringing something to the table, and
yeah, and it's in
and
Goldberg's book. If you read Goldberg's book, I'm Next, he mentions that. And the think about, when did you love pro wrestling the most? When the Monday Night Wars were happening.
yeah, and I mean, again, the show was never intended to talk pro wrestling, but you can see when the excitement's there, like that's there for Bellator, and I just want to be like, hey, like, look, the pro wrestling fans are willing to check out another thing and see how exciting it is. And I'm not. And if you've watched Bellator and you don't like it, it's not your cup of tea, then don't watch it. Nobody's forcing anybody to do it. And I'm not saying watch every fight and every event. No, they're not all the same. But when somebody like Horiguchi
Yeah,
Sergio Pettis isn't a washout. Sergio Pettis' contract ended and he's signed with Bellator. It's a free agent. It happens.
yeah,
It's happening in the pro wrestling world, and that's what helps change the landscape. You
yeah,
want
yeah.
you want competition. That's why when the best UFC ever
Competition is
was
good for
when
business.
Pride existed.
Yep.
Or maybe not the best UFC, but they put their best foot forward and tried to load their cards the best when it was. The roster of UFC has never been better than it is today, if we're just being honest about the actual athleticism and skill of their fighters. But the entertainment factor and the excitement and the looking forward to stuff and the knowing the fighters and analyzing the fights, all that was best when, man, they had the competition where they questioned whether they were the best in the world, and that's whether they are or not is irrelevant. They need to have that in the back of their mind that they might not be, and that opens up the door for such great competition and stuff. I mean, we got this great card coming up in New York. Hopefully that holds for you guys on your coast. I have a hard time seeing how it does, but UFC's got some loaded stuff coming up. The event that I'll be heading to in a couple of weeks
you're
is
already getting we're already seeing hints of the good old boy networks and folks getting greased to let stuff happen. Damon Martin tweeted a memo from the mayor that's already allowing all anyone competing on that card is exempt from needing to vaccinate or mask up or anything like that. So we're already seeing the things happen to kind of pave the way for that card's looking a little bit safer. But again, it's still too
but
early to tell, and things are too crazy in the news.
Like
So.
what I understand is basically if you're in New York City, like if I go to Times Square and I want to go to a pizza place, I need to be vaccinated. I need to show them my
Well,
card and my ID, right? So these guys
well,
might be able to fight, but they're not going to be able to go to dinner.
yeah. I mean, that seems to be the case as far as that venue
Yeah.
goes. Anything
So I
outside
wonder,
of, but I mean, and just because I was just in New York City Labor Day weekend. I was there, and every place I went to, literally a month apart, because I was there in July, and then I went again Labor Day weekend. July, nobody asked me mask, nothing. I was good. Nobody asked me for jack but my ID to order drinks. Labor Day weekend, everything you just said.
yeah.
Mask,
See, so like I don't
ID,
know,
proof of vaccine.
and it's still November, so we still got a few months. Maybe some things could change if the numbers go down.
Yeah,
Although I have no faith that De Blasio would do anything proper in that city.
no,
But
no.
I just wonder how that unfolds. I mean, how do you think that they sell out Madison's? We know, okay, we know in the past the McGregor card sold out quick. All right, then they
Yeah,
had
but
the huge mega card 217 with St. Pierre sold out, no
yeah.
problem. UFC 230, Cormier, the poster right behind my head here, Cormier and
I
Lewis
mean,
did not sell out. So like, are
yeah.
we selling out? Are they selling out Madison Square Garden with people that are vaccinated in New York City?
I mean, we'll find
We're gonna
out.
find out
Yeah,
because I won't travel. Although I could go to the event, I won't travel because I don't trust that it won't get canceled. So like I
yeah.
wonder how many people are gonna book thousands of. I mean, New York City, you know better than anybody, is not a cheap place to
Do anything.
do anything.
Yeah,
And I'm coming from the farthest point in the damn country to go visit there. There's no way in hell I'm booking a $2,000 Airbnb and then find out the UFC pulls out the day before,
yeah,
or moves the event to Georgia or Florida. I mean, that's not going to do it. So it's weird. I'm curious to see how the tickets. I mean, it's a loaded card. Everything that would tell me that it's going to sell out. But I wonder, the rude awakening for a lot of these people that think that they're going to New York City and then they show up and it's like it doesn't sound pleasant to me. And maybe I'm overreacting, but
no, like it's I actually I really don't care about any other fight on that card right now. I mean, I have to see the rest of it and see what plays out. Whatever. I mean, there's Frankie Edgar. All the local favorites are on there. I can't tell Frankie Edgar. Everybody I like is on there, but the only fight I really care to see is the one Gaethje and Chandler. And I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about even if I want to buy a ticket or not. I think the tickets go on sale September 17th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's we'll see what the price is like, and I mean we'll see that we'll know by then what it's looking like. I mean, folks will be showing the layout and the tickets sold out and the time that it sells out, but
yeah,
we'll
the
see
pre-sale starts
if
on Wednesday. You'll know by
yeah.
10 a.m. your time if that event's going to sell out. There'll
But
either be 300 tickets left or
if,
they're going to be
if it
15,000.
does, if it does sell out, it's going to be Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, all the New York fight fans, maybe some folks from up north and as far as Massachusetts taking a Amtrak down this way. But I don't see your level of, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean I do see people on Twitter talking about buying tickets and stuff or whatever, but I don't see it as much as I did for the last three, New York City cards.
And they very well, I mean, with that, if they have if that fight card holds up, then it should sell out. You would think that in that tri-state area up there that they would be able to draw enough attraction to fill it up. I just wonder. The events I've gone to, other than the UFCs that have been in Arizona and Florida, everything else has been pretty scattered out. So I'm curious just to see how it unfolds.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean that's a long way down the line. The
yeah. I mean,
UFC's, next three
yeah,
UFC events are about as loaded as their events have ever been.
yeah. I mean, I really can't look past before. I mean, I'm paying attention to what's going on. Like I know Mackenzie Durr, Marina Rodriguez, just because I do the news and stuff for all the outlets I do it for. But still, for me, I mean, I've already written I don't know how many pieces about UFC 268 just because I'm
that
so
one
hyped
fight
about it.
for sure, for sure. If
Yeah.
everything else falls apart, that's it. But you got Covington, you got Usman. I mean, there's their first fight was a great fight.
Yeah,
I don't,
no, and
so there's potential for fireworks. There's potential for a storyline.
yeah.
I wonder. You're gonna find out how what people are willing to put up with to go to a fight, because that's
Yeah,
a
or
lot
an
to put
event
up with.
period. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I went to one in LA where it was supposed to be kind of that same level, maybe without having to show everything, but it didn't. They didn't enforce it. So,
Right.
but I know New York seems to be kind of a different animal when it comes
Oh
to
yeah.
some of that stuff. So,
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I said, that thing. I mean, Damon Martin didn't write an article on it, but if you, I mean, Damon Martin of MMAfighting.com. If you check his account, though, he posted the screenshot of the mayor's memo regarding UFC 268. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out the closer we get to November. But I mean, with all that, I mean, this was our best to catch up, folks. I mean, again, apologies for the missing week and the late episode, but shit happens. We got lives and stuff that we got to tend to, and with the world changing and readjusting back to whatever the hell it's going back to, we had to shuffle some time around, but we should be back to normal next week. I've already been reached out for guests and stuff like that, so we'll work it out as it works out. But Matt, I know you got to get to your BKFC before you break your neck doing the podcast over there. So
yep,
um,
prelims are over. 4 knockouts, 4 finishes. Time to move on to the main card here in
yeah.
about 10 minutes. Thanks for everybody that listens. Follow the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. You can always find our video podcast at www.allaccessmma.com. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMAHawk21 on Twitter and Instagram, and give Ed a follow on Twitter at Carbazol, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch, where we're getting odd question tonight. So maybe you can follow up, find out who the Liberators are, and I can tell you who won over the weekend. But that's where we're at. Have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy some bloody bare knuckle and some old men boxing tomorrow, and talk to you next week.
Yes. See you next week.